Massive rear end collision results in back windows shattering all over our client, injuring her back and neck, ultimately needs surgery. Find out more below. I'm Shane Smith with Thomas from our office here at Shane Smith Law. Today we're going to talk about one of his recent client victories. Thomas, tell us about MC's case. What happened during the accident?
MC was a 22-year-old female who was driving down US Highway 421, just going about her day-to-day, minding her business. It came to a stop because traffic in front of her had come to a stop, and a gentleman driving behind her didn't come to a stop at all until he crashed into the back of her car and essentially exploded her rear view mirror, throwing glass all over the inside of the car. The police estimated the impact was about 55 miles per hour. Again, just an estimate, could have been faster, and it also pushed her into a second vehicle, creating a sort of whiplash motion with her body.
I was going to say, normally we don't see the back window just shatter and crush very often, I guess. So that shows how severe the impact was to her.
Absolutely. Yeah, I haven't seen that very many times at all, especially when you hear someone talking about it sounding like a bomb went off. She had ringing in her ears, suffered some symptoms of a head injury as well here.
Okay, and what did they think her initial injuries were?
So initially she went to the hospital and she was diagnosed with a cervical strain and sprain. Followed up with the chiropractor where she was told that she had a lumbar strain and sprain as well. So that was the initial sort of doctor's visits. She went from there to a pain clinic and wasn't really much help to her in terms of helping with her injuries. Again, this is a 22-year-old female, in good shape, no previous injuries, never been to the doctor for anything in her life. But, one day someone just decides to blow her whole world up. So she went to the initial pain management clinic and that wasn't working for her. And then she went to an orthopedic specialist for further follow-up care.
And what did the orthopedist find?
The orthopedist said, hey, it's pretty funny that nobody's done an MRI at this point, especially given your age and everything that you're experiencing. She had numbness in her left hand, from her essentially her middle finger to her ring finger. All three of those were numb. She was experiencing that issue, shooting pain. The orthopedic ordered an MRI and found that she had a herniated disc, C4, C5 area of her neck, a bulge at C6 and 7. And she also had a disc bulge at L4 and L5.
Wow. And how old did you say she was? 22?
22 years old. Yeah, perfect.
Yeah.
Health.
So I mean, it would be reasonable to assume all these were directly from the accident, since she didn't have prior issues and the massive impact in her age. The accident caused all of this, especially when the numbness showed up right after the accident.
Absolutely. And it lingered with her for a long time, and she had to treat for a long time. She treated essentially here for just up until about 2.5 years. And
wow.
That treatment ended up culminating in her having a surgical procedure on her lower back. It's what's called a lumbar rhizotomy on her L4 and S1. So a minimally invasive kind of procedure that goes in there and essentially kind of prunes or cauterizes the nerve in her lower back. So it is something that she may end up having future issues with.
What were, after that rhizotomy, how did she feel? What did it do for her pain?
That helped out a lot. She has said that she's very thankful that she was able to get that in the context of this case and the policy limits. And it has helped her lower back tremendously. She's still suffering from pain in her neck. She kind of had to make a choice between the two, given the policy limits. And, it's looking like she may need a radio frequency ablation at a very minimum in the future.
All right. So you mentioned policy limits a couple of times. I'm guessing that there just wasn't a big enough policy for all of her injuries.
No, it wasn't. And, we were limited to $100,000 here, which, I think in a different world, if there was a $250,000 or more here, then this would definitely be one where I think that was justified as well. But here we were limited to $100,000.
And we're limited because that's all the insurance the other guy had. So that's all we're able to go after.
Every single dollar. Yep.
How did she feel about the ultimate resolution? Because obviously money became an issue, but we were capped out. How did she feel about it?
She was really happy. And I think one of the big reasons was that when we started out with her case in early 2020, she had kind of said, hey, I'm not going to go to the doctor anymore. It's not really doing a lot for me. So we decided, hey, we know she's still in pain, but let's see what we could do here. in terms of negotiating this case. And we received an offer for $8,800 and had a conversation and said, hey, how are you feeling? I know you're still hurting here. And she made the decision to go back into treatment to get a second opinion with a real specialist versus just someone who's going to manage the pain. And again, that offer went from $8,800 to $100,000 when we had finished working on it.
And not only that, though, but she got some resolution. She found out what her injuries were, got some treatment, got the lower back resolved pretty well. And this is one of the reasons why we talk to clients about treatment and say, go until you're better. And if you're having trouble, call us and talk to us so that we can change doctors or get a second opinion or figure out what's going on. And it sounds like she did that with you.
Absolutely. And we had to deal with the additional complication in her case of there being a second accident that she was involved in. And thankfully, we were able to, clear that up and show that it didn't have a tremendous impact on her injuries and show that all things considered, it was relatively insignificant. But that is one of those pitfalls that comes up in a case. And, when you have a second collision, it can raise all sorts of issues about the causation of the injuries. But we were able to muscle through that and show that it didn't really have an effect here.
I was going to say, I'm sure the insurance company brought it up and tried to give her less money because of that.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a long fight. We got it done kind of at the buzzer on this one.
Well, it sounds like she was lucky to have you as her lawyer and that she did a great job and she was happy at the end result. So great job, Thomas. And, good work and keep at it is what I would say. And it's always wonderful when we can help a client and, we take one offer and radically change it into something significantly better. I mean, that shows we're really helping the clients, and it sounds like that's what you did here.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
All right. For any of our listeners, hit like and subscribe down below. See more client victories from Shane Smith Law.
In pain, so I call Shane. 980-999-9999. In pain, call Shane.